So perfectly, I just want it sitting down in the bottom tray there, and it'll stick in its own place and out of the way. However, there is a chance I'm not going to have enough room to fit the cables in as well, which means as I only need to put 2 in here, what I'll do is I'll push one side right to the back, so that side will be completely unusable, but this will be all usable, and I only need 2 of them. Now, to explain the cables I'm going to need coming out of this, now because I don't actually need any ARGB in this piece, I only just need it as a fan hub, because all the ARGBs are plugged into the motherboard already. So I've just got to plug this one into there. So one side actually goes in, the other side won't fit. They did that specifically. So that one goes there. I run a SATA power into that one, and then we're done. That then goes into the motherboard into one of those fan headers, which is, even though I only came up with 1 short, why I need to plug in 2. Right, so we'll plug them in now too while we're here. I'm going to run, oh no, that is actually quite a short cable. I'll fit it, but it's going to have to sit across that. I can try and run it in the corner crevice. Ah, yeah, there we go. I'll run it in the channel down the side of the case, which just means I need to move that down a little bit more to make it fit a bit more. Perfect. All right, guys. Yeah. Now, the other idea I did have is I could actually sit this in there. And it's actually out of the way. Now, we're not using them. Or the other one is you can sit it up there. Personally, I'm not going to do that. It's a little messy. I might actually sit it in there. I did have a thought of maybe sitting it in the other one so it's covered completely and not visible. But don't think that's going to be the best way to get this cable out to plug it in, because it won't fit through any of the channels there. So it's going to have to run across here and then up and over. And it's going to be the best way. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I just wanted to show you all how that goes in. Magnet. And obviously, as I said, I've still got a cable manager, all this. I was just making sure it was all plugged in. Oh, I bumped. And I can go from there. So that one, as I just said, goes in there. SATA power, done. SATA power goes into the peripheral cable power or SATA power. They're both the same on the GPU. I'll grab that cable quickly because I don't actually have it on me. It's just off where I put everything. So one sec, give me a sec, guys. All right, easy peasy. I got the cable now, and I'll show you guys how to plug it in. So I'm actually going to pull that off just so I can show you the port. There goes the screwdriver, whoop-de-doo-dah. So that one will sit in there. But there we go. Now, because that's a flat cable, it should come out nicely without it being in the way. And whew, this is a long cable. Then that's just going to go into the GPU down here, which really doesn't need much room. But I guess if you wanted to plug your fan hub on the front, or your case is orientated a little differently and you've got like a closed shield for your GPU, for your power supply, which a lot of them do come with that. Oops, I gotta stop pulling on that. All right, so I'm just going to turn this case around and we'll plug those 2 in, which is that one, because those 2 are already plugged. I'm going to have my work cut out for me when it comes to cable managing this one, but it's not an issue. Thanks to this case, you do have plenty of room, so I'll be able to tweak it to my best. All right, so I'm going to feed that up through the top here. Then we'll turn the case around once I've got that fed in, and we'll plug that into the front, which was the top one of the motherboard that I did have the back fan plugged into. So I will. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you this as much as I try because it's right up the top here. Even if I laid it down, it's kind of in the way. So I'm just going to get that one in myself. Now, this is the one I needed the tweezers for last time. So let's grab them again because they made this job so much easier. And perfect. All right, so that's all those cables done. I shouldn't need to mess with anything else. Yeah, so I've already shown you how to do it once. I've already had to do it once. I'm going to get the GPU back in because we did have some cables that need to be plugged in down the bottom, which were the ARGBs. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, once that's back in, we have a working computer, as you all saw in the previous demo where I made sure everything turned on. I got no stupid beeps telling me that RAM's not seated correctly or anything. La-di-da. So the light even went through its boot cycle and no issues. Went from red to green. Read and writing was working perfectly. So I'm going to stop now once again. And this time I'm actually done with the build video. By the time you next see this computer, you will see it in the showcase. All right, good luck. And remember, thecrimsonmarket.com, it's where you'll sign up for the membership, and that gives you free entries into this, winning this case, this whole computer. So good luck, everyone. All right, hello guys. So I think my camera died. I'm not sure before or after getting the rad in. So I was having to turn the radiator so the tubes come out this side. Then I can mount that to wherever it needs to be, which will be this way. And the cable will sit there. So that's actually quite nice and out of the way. As we mentioned, I still haven't got the GPU in yet. And I've got a cable manage plus plug in the motherboard fan. So yeah, if you missed it, all I've done is turn the radiator around, set it so the tubes are on this side coming out, and installed the fans on the top, and then click the top panel back on, which we all saw me do multiple times, so we know how that's done. All right, so we're going to start immediately on the CPU. So I just want to get the CPU block installed, and I'm hoping it's a pretty simple installation. It should be, and I've got the mounting screws over here in that box, so I'll grab them out in a sec. Yeah, so let's grab that now quickly. I did a bit of tidying of my desk. It was quite messy once I realized my camera was dead. Just standing up for this one because it's a little bigger. I don't really have the room to work on it and show yous. All right. So I'll use the MSI thermal paste it came with. That'll be the easiest. Now, as you notice, I'm going to do a cross. If it doesn't stick like that. But that's my fault. I should have moved it a bit. I should have pushed it down and held it straight a little bit before doing that. But that's okay. I'll just wipe that off quickly. And I can come back and finish it off. 1, 2. Now there is the scraper where you can, like the spatula tool to make it nice. But once you install your, well, in this case, the AIO block, as long as you put even pressure on it, it'll spread evenly. And that is more than enough. That is a pretty standard method. Some people, and I have in the past, depending on what we, like how much comes out on the cross, I'll add little dots in each of the corners. But that's more just my own use sort of thing than an actual necessary. All right. So this actually has screws pre-mounted. Now, how convenient would it be if that was just the screws I needed? All right, so it is. So the 1851 sock is already mounted. Yep, perfect. All right, so I did mention this already. Before you put that on, take that plastic off. Otherwise, you won't be cooling anything. All right, so those cables, as long as they run off this side, I can neaten them up from there. All right, so I'm going to grab my screwdriver ready. Make sure it's the right one. Yepers. All right, so place this down slowly, lining it all up. And then I'll start screwing it in. You'll see I'm going to use a cross pattern for screwing this down. That way it does go down nice and evenly. It'd be a bit unfortunate if it didn't. So those pipes are sort of in the way there, so I'll lift them up a little bit. Alright, then we'll go back and start the cross again. Couple turns, move to the next one. Couple turns, move to the next one. Couple more turns, go back to the last one. Couple more turns. And at this point, it should be sort of starting to get tight. As I said before, you don't over-mount these. You don't want too much pressure on your CPU. You just need it sitting on there nice and flush. Which is why I'm using this screwdriver. It's not a very good one per se, so it's very easy to control how much power I'm using. Obviously, unlike the electric drill I was using for, say, the fans. All right, so there's the RGB cable. I'll set that one off to the side. This will need to go in that slot there. But the best way I'm going to find probably to mount that is to actually figure out if I've got enough length. Oh, look, you know what? We'll get onto the cable ling a little, excuse me, soon. I actually need to get a drink of water before I can go do the rest because I'm quite parched. All right, much better. Alrighty, Root. So let's, yeah, what am I talking about? Let's get this in. Don't want to find that the pump's not plugged in later on or something. Now, for cable management purposes, I'm going to want it to go around the water block that way. Oh, there's still enough length. All right, so I'm actually going to go the other way, wrap it around the whole thing and hope that there's enough to come back with. Yeah, just wrap that there, because I'll be able to tuck that under the actual block a little later when I'm doing the final cable management process. Oh, look at that. That actually does work well. Then it just goes in like so. The second my hands get closer, I'm blocking my light. And I'm probably blocking the camera. And that would be how I would do a quicker bit of my cable management for that. Now, the ARGBs on this, I'm not 100% certain where they are on this motherboard. I haven't actually taken the time to look yet. So I know I've got my fan headers up here. Should have another system fan header down here. That's actually for this cable here. And down here I should have my ARGB. But unfortunately, I can't exactly see it. Oh, there it is. So this is going to be a bit hard for me to show you. It's right in the bottom there. So I'll sit this up. And I'll angle it a little bit for now. These ones down here are your ARGB. There should be what? 1, 2. Oh, there's 2 on here. I'm sure there's more. Actually, there should be 1 down there. Which means... Is there another one under there? No, there isn't. Okay. So something I did just notice is that the 8-pin for the CPU power is actually Is that it down there? Quite possibly. But that's all right. That's why in these sort of instances, we can just grab the box and grab the manual out. Oh, look at that, MSI's little pretty booklet. All right, so I'll just sit down for a quick sec. It's not that. It's not that one. Okay, that's their sticker book. And then they have the quick installation guide here, which theoretically should have a picture of the motherboard layout somewhere. Which, no, it doesn't. It does have, you can see it, the I/O, the input-output for the front panel. So obviously I will need to use this booklet for that. But they don't have a model diagram of the motherboard itself. That's different. All right, well, I'll set that off just so I can see for the I/O shield, make it a little easier when I'm ready to do that piece. But I'm certain when I went through this booklet, they didn't have a layout sheet there either. Very disappointed in MSI for this. For the most part, they're onto it, and all that is some SATA cables. Oh, and the MSI key. Woohoo! MSI keys for taking off something on this bloody motherboard that they make their own screw for. Nothing that you'll ever use. I'll probably never really use it. No one does. Alright, so I actually need to get a motherboard layout for this one. I'll just use the other phone here. And where's their little picture? Interesting. Is it on the motherboard? Okay, so if you can see this, I've got a picture on the back, and it does explain some things, but none of it is the actual layout diagram. So, as mentioned, upset an MSI for that. That shouldn't be something I should have to look for. That should be something that should be included. So, we'll grab the MSI, if I can type in the gloves. It's the Z890. Oop, not 7. Yeah, these gloves are terrible to type in. All right, gaming plus Wi-Fi. That's the one we're going for. That's the one there. Now, where is MSI? There. Let's go onto their picture, website, and then we'll be able to bring up their picture. Don't know if you can overly see the phone. No, I won't accept your cookies. Still no diagram picture. M.2 installation, boring. CPU, high performance, and look at that. Much as I've gone down, they have 7 pages to explain how to install the M.2s, but they don't have a diagram picture like every other board that I've ever bought came with. That's interesting. Maybe a specifications will have it. Of course not. Nope. Oh, wait. No, that's not something you click on. Well, there we go. So I'm actually going to have to... And let's see if they... Images... Alright, to size failed us here. I'm just going to take half a second and look this up. I'm just going to pause that while I do. Sorry for bumping the camera, everyone. Alright, I found it. I actually had to download their PDF, which 71 page PDF. I had to scroll down to the 28th page. So this is a diagram here, which I am actually semi-glad I looked up. Turns out I need to pull out that system fan that I've plugged in there, because this motherboard has a dedicated pump header for you to plug your AIOs or water pumps into when you're water cooling. So I'll disconnect that one quickly. And now I'm actually going to lay the case down because it's up the top here, and I want you to be able to see as I install it, so you can see exactly which one I'm putting it into. All right, lay this baby down. Which I got to say, it is getting heavy. Yeah, I sort of put that on the phone. Oh, well, it's perfectly fine. I'll leave that up there so it's in view. So the pump header is the top sys pump there, system pump. Which means cable managing for this one will be a little have to do down the path. So I don't really have room to wrap it around and then get it past the... Oh, actually, I probably do. It's quite a long cable, considering. And then what I would do is I would then feed it up behind the RAM up here. And I can plug that in there. As soon as I can line it up. It's another one of those once I get too close. There we go. Pump done. Chins. Ooh, nah, I'll peel that later. All right. Now that we're at that point, we can actually start cable managing. So I'll grab those graphics card cables, the 24 pin, the 8 pin, which on this one, there's actually a couple slots. So they've got an 8 pin down here near the riser. But that is spare PCI Express power. So if you're running multiple PCI Express cards, you actually have to run a secondary power into that. It's nothing that we haven't heard of. You had to do it with SLIing sometimes when you're running dual cards, but most people don't anymore. Then up the top here, you've actually got your CPU power, and it's got 1 and 2 for some reason. There's 2 of them. Obviously, we'll use 1. We're just going to be using one 8 pin for CPU power and the 24 pin for graphics power. Now, I am going to try and run, obviously, the 24 pin will come up on this side here through that gap, but I'm going to try and run the 8 pin through the top underneath that radiator. I can't guarantee I'm going to have the room, so I may have to come around the side with the 24. Not necessarily a problem, like not in the slightest a problem at all, but is something I will need to address. All right, so I'm going to start undoing all the cable ties so I can get all the cables loose, which a lot of people do before putting these fans in, which I probably should have. There's these 2 in here, the 140s I put in. But that's okay. They should just be basic cable ties, right? Yep, if they're not completely and utterly twisted around each other, of course. All right, so I'm just going to go grab something. No, I just grabbed some scissors to cut them. 1, 2. Now, they can actually start getting plugged in because this fan header, this motherboard, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these have, 5 fan headers on this motherboard, and I'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, because they daisy chain. Then there's a 2 at the bottom. Now, I'm not sure if they're daisy chain. If they are, then I will need 6 fan headers, which means I will be grabbing out the fan hub, which is kind of crazy to pull that out for 1. I'm hoping, because I actually haven't checked, there's a chance that those bottom two fans that they installed are daisy chains. So I'll check that out very soon. I'm going to need to, of course, so I can grab the cables. But all the cables for those two fans should be in the back. They screw them all together. So I'm going to pick this up. Now I've got the thumb screw. I'm just going to loose. Yep. And I'll chuck that in my little white jar. I'll turn this case in a sec to make it a little easier for you guys. Gals, whoever's watching. Ghouls. Alright. So yeah, all the fan cabling comes down here. Now these are the ones from the top fans. Yeah, so it's only one each. So it's one ARGB and one fan header because they daisy chain into each other. Which I've already showed you guys, it goes in nicely. Alrighty, Roo. So GPU power, that's going to need to feed in here towards the front for, you know it, graphics card. Now I'll reach around, grow up, and I'll pull that to the front. Then I'll grab these ones, which are the rest of the, and there it is. All right, so there's the two for the bottom, and they do not daisy chain, which means, yeah, this motherboard only comes with fan 5 and a pump header, of course. So with the pump going into that instead of a fan header, we should have the exact amount. All right, now the 24 pin on this motherboard was up here, so I actually need to get this under the 600 watt GPU cable, pull that up here, and feed that through there. Easy. Then the 8 pin, as we talked about, I'll just feed it all the way through. I'll worry about neatening that up once it's all plugged in. And yeah, they're both all plugged in nice. Now the 8 pin on the other hand, I actually wanted, as we talked about, try and get it through the front here. The top. Which I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it in and plug it in. So the first thing I need to do is I do need to check on the other side that where that clips onto. Because wherever it clips onto depends on which way I turn it. So I'm just going to face this motherboard. All right, so the clip's on the top, which means that when this goes through, it needs to go the other way. So when it goes through, feeds in, wraps, and does that. And I'm not, no, that ain't happening. That's okay, we did think about this. That just means it's going to come through with the 24 pin on this side, which with the rubber channels that they give you on this case, very easy, very easy. All right, so that's the 3 powers for that. And on this side, we have more cabling that'll need to go through. So the USB-C, which goes to the bottom, USB 3. It's usually on the bottom. Interesting. I'm not seeing it on their diagram. Could be that over there, though. Fortunately, I'm just... So everything's very badly labeled. That's all right. So if that's that one, it needs to come up here and sit next to the RAM, which by what I'm seeing here, a lot of these are going to need to. So they've got a little cutout here on the side. So what you do is you feed that through the cutout. If you can get your hands into it. Personally, yeah, sure. Oh, of course. That only, yeah, that ain't happening. So we're actually going to feed that through the grommet up here in a second. I'm just going to take half a second to sort this out. So if that's fan, what's that one for? Oh, that's the other bottom fan. All right, so if they're fans, they go into fan headers. They're on the bottom, we'll use the fan headers on the bottom, which means I'll feed them through the most bottom rubber mount, or grommet, whatever you want to call it, here. Because if you, oh, there's that stupid cable tie. We got proper ones from the motherboard. There. So we feed those two through there. And that'll be their placement. I'll grab them from the other end. One and... oh, and went through. Oh, there we go. And there's the two. All right, with them sitting in there, I can then start working on this one. Now, this one is the back fan. And I actually wanted to use it on the system fan hub at the back, which means because it is a very thin cable, I'll be able to feed it through the top here of the motherboard slot and run it through there. Well, it wasn't that one, it was this one. But yeah, so I'm going to have that go through there, all of it, because that comes from that side. And I'll plug it in, and then I'll tie it down, pull it through, whatever I find to be the most feasible option for cable management. Which, as mentioned, thankfully this case comes with thousands, well, not 1,000, but comes with plenty of options for that. All right, now this one is the radiator, and it's going to feed in through the same slot because there should be two fan headers up there. One, two, oh, well, there's three, but two right at the top for them two. And I'll worry about the RGB cabling later. This one here is the front panel, which I will point out it's all in one piece, which means when plugging it in, as I said, I got this diagram out to make it a little easier so that we can see the exact connections, but lo and behold, we don't need to. Very convenient. And that needs to run all the way around and back to the front, and the front panel slots should be down the bottom in this corner. So I'll feed that through with the fans that are going to go down the back there, down the bottom there, because that's where that's going to be needed. Remember, you need to pull that tight so that it's flush against that metal so it's out of the way when you close the side panel. What's this one? So that's USB-C, isn't it? Yeah. No. All right. Sorry about that. My Uber arrived, so I just had to go and answer me door. All right. So, front I/O panel. Let's feed that through. All right. USB-C. It's not USB-C. It's the other one. And then the other one we got here is the USB-C. And that needs to feed into the same hole. And this one here, I should have pushed it already, will need to go that way. There is enough room up there for it to go through the cavity above the motherboard. And obviously, I'm just going to feed it all the way through, so I've got maximum room. That should be every cable. I shouldn't need anything else for the power supply. No. No, not at all. All right. Actually, yes, I do need one more cable. And it's a PCI Express power for the bottom of the motherboard. Now, there is the small possibility that cable itself is only for like SLI. So if you're using multiple, and there it is. And that runs to the bottom. Get this cable tie off. Plug that directly into the PSU on one side. I don't need the 2 8-pins. I just need the one. But I'll feed both. So they want me to plug that into the PCI slot. I don't know if you were able to hear it, but there's like a little bit of a click as it feeds in. All right, so ideally I'll be able to just plug this one in and that one will be out of view, but there is a chance I'll have to plug that one in and then I'll just cable tie that down. But hey, that needs to go through the bottom of the case, which means I want that under the 600 watt cable, which is for the GPU. And then that goes from there down into the bottom. And there we go, that's through far enough. So at this point, we can turn the case around and start plugging it in. All right, so I'm going to need to stand up to move this because it's very heavy. All right, now you can see the bird's nest we're going to be working with, which, as you can see, is, well, a lot of it. And this has CPU power 1, CPU power 2. So if that's running 2 8-pins, now the 8-pin I've got here is a singular. That's fine, I'll just grab the cable. All right, so I've been able to go grab that second cable. So turns out it's not necessary. What it does do is it helps with stabilization for the power distribution for the CPU. So I'll feed that through to the back. Which side is the one that goes? There'll be this side actually goes into the modular PSU, power supply unit. And I'll pick this up again. Just turn it around enough for me. It's just an 8-pin cable, plug in next to where I plugged the last one in. I'm just going to get that one in quickly so we can move on. All right, done. Feed that cable through as much as possible. All right, now we can turn this back around for us to all see. All right, so I think I'm going to start today with figuring out the neatest point. So this one, I'm actually going to feed that one back halfway and get that one plugged into the motherboard. In fact, it needs to be turned. And I'll get that one in there. So that's CPU power 1 done. Which might be a little hard for you to see right up the top there. And I've got the second one of them, this one. So this one, again, I'll feed back through much as possible. Actually, see that placement there of where the 24 pin is? You know what? This might be a little easier if I actually lay it down flat. For one, for me to see, and two, hopefully you guys can see everything a bit better. So I'll lay that down very carefully, making sure I'm not sitting on anything I shouldn't. There we go. Alrighty. So this one is the fan, which means this one's a fan, and an RGB. Oh, excuse me. I really need another drink. I don't know what's going on, but I am extremely parched tonight. Oh, that's much nicer. Lovely water. All right, so I'm going to grab my 24 pin, which is this one here. I'm going to feed it back through as much as possible before I then roll it over like this and clip it in. Why is it being difficult? Clip's definitely on that side. I wonder if this may be the side for the... There we go. Yep, nice. It's just a bit snug because it's the first time. And that one can actually sit back. About like that's probably going to be the neatest we're going to get out of it. That looks much better than it did. Alright, so I'll feed this one back through so we can do that CPU 2. And I'll get that one in. Now I'm just going to plug all these up, show you guys that it's all up and running. And I'll worry about the majority of the cable management off camera. I just want to show you how it's easy to get those first few ones in nice and neat. It makes a big difference. Now obviously I then had this one. Did it get stuck? There we go. I get this one 8-pin into the bottom of the motherboard because it's got another slot, funnily enough, underneath the riser cable, but I'm hoping I can just move it a little bit and it'll fit. But honestly, it could be quite difficult if it wants to be. All right, which is the flat end. You know what, I can't see, which is very unfortunate because it does mean I'm going to have to unscrew that riser cable there and get it out of the way. Just one screw though, and then the clip at the back. There's one. I'll chuck that in with my other screws. I'll undo the GPU clip at the back. There we go. And that just gives us a little bit more room so I can grab this cable here, get it out of the way of all the other cables so there's no entanglement. So those fans go there, that one goes there. Alright. Now I can plug this 8-pin in. I can't see the clip, which means it has to be on the inside. Which means, honestly, with this riser cable in, it might be impossible for me to get that in. Give me a sec, guys. Alright, I got it in. I just had to move the riser cable and line it up. I'm going to triple check. It's plugged all the way in. It is correct. Which means I can now get the riser cable back in, which isn't a hard job. As we know, it was quick and easy to get out. Should be just as quick and easy. Get it back in. Grab my screw, which is obviously going to be the one I just dropped. There it is. Alright, now I can put that back in. Switch. Done. And that's in slotted. And that's all in. Perfect. Alright, now that we've done that, I'm going to turn around and start plugging in the rest of these cables because we do still have a few. That, as I said, might need to get cable managed. Alright, so I have 8-pin, both of them, a 24-pin. I got my secondary CPU powered PCI Express power down there for the GPU. I think this is actually ready. The ARGBs are still necessary. That should be the other one. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to start getting these case fans in. One of which will go here down the bottom. Well, technically it's the top of the case, but that's okay. Interesting. I'm just having trouble getting my hands in there. Very tight. So I'm maybe blocking the camera, guys. My apologies. They really don't give much room on some of these. No. There's a chance I'll have to use my trusty tweezers. There we go. Nope. I just can't reach my fingertips long enough to get in there past the I/O shield. Yeah. That's right, guys. I'll grab my tweezers here. Which is what they're for. Come in from the other end. Be better. I can grab them nice and tight. And done. Perfect little things. Alright, I'll sit them there in case it comes up again. Alright, now of course that cable's going to need to be neatened. It's just going from here to here. What I'll probably do is just feed that through the top of the motherboard. And my apologies. Have to tighten that one up for the same reason. Alright, what else do we have down here? We should have one. Where's that other fan cable? It should be that one. Yep. And I have 2 fan hubs down the bottom here that I was going to use. Is that the bottom fans or is that the case fan? Ah, no. That's those 2 there. And those 2 will get plugged up. So there's one in here. And there should be one more there. So I'll use these 2, which are coming out of the bottom of the case, and the bottom one's down the bottom here. Bottom, bottom, bottom. How many more times can I say it, you reckon? 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippis. Obviously I'll have to neaten them, not tighten. And now I can chuck on where's the I/O panel? Not that one. Definitely not that one. There it is. So this one I actually want to come out the bottom of a lot of these cables. So let's get that out and under. Because it's got to go just in the bottom corner. And make sure I line up the missing pin to the missing one on the... And of course, just having trouble getting it. Slide in. I'm going to need my tweezers again. I was like, it shouldn't be this hard to get it in. There we go. See, it's very easy. It just wasn't going to make it easy for me, apparently. All right, guys. I just realized my mic had died, so I've gone and grabbed another one. I hope it didn't die too long ago, but I am very close to my camera. So theoretically, you should have still heard either way, but it probably just would have lost out on its thick quality a little bit, maybe. All right, so there we go. 1 and 2. Need this one. Comes out of there. I don't really have a choice because it's coming out of the fan there to run it across the motherboard. Dun -dun -dun. Dun -dun -dun -dun. And that's how they should all go in. If you know, your hands don't. What's the RGB? What's the other? That's the fan header there, isn't it? Correct. Well, fan cable headers on the motherboard. And it's actually one that's right under where I put my 2 8-pin cables. So I'll have to pull them out a little bit, line it up. There we go. And then that'll get pulled through to the other end once I'm ready. Oh, slid down there actually for that one. There should be room for me to get a cable tie in there when I'm ready. All right, so now we're at that point where pretty much everything's plugged up minus the RGB. And I haven't got my HD audio plugged in yet. But front audio and other USB slot can go in later. It's USB-C. And the USB-C cable. So I'll get, you know what, these two are quick and easy right there cables. USB-C goes there, clip is that side. So we'll plug that one in there. And then USB-C, that's USB-C. And that should be completely universal. No, one side's fatter than the other. And in. And all the way in. Doesn't look it. Hangs out of the motherboard quite a bit, that piece. Just the socket itself does. But that's in. Right, now, RGB, cable management, GPU cable, and HD audio. So everything crucial is in. I'm going to flip this upright. We're going to get that 5080 in, plugged up. And I'm going to plug power cable in, make sure everything works. All right, so I'll hold on to these cables. Those two, I'll just sit there for now. And flip. Okay. So we're going to get the 5080 out. Which remember is our VENTUS 3X 16 gigabyte. All right, and it did come with the white cable we may or may not use. I don't think, actually, I'm not going to use it. I like the look of the black cables, all being uniform. All right, I'll just sit on down there, out of my way. All right, so sticker. Don't forget to peel that off your GPU. Let's see you don't get dust in the slot while it's in transport or in the manufacturing process. Alrighty, Roo. Now this is a 2 wide. Which means I'll remove the 2 IO shields at the back that correspond with what we're using. Now this case does fit 3, like a 3 card slot graphics card, like the 5090. I wouldn't bother unless you're got a very specific reason for needing a 5090. 99.99% of people can't use any more than the 5080. Man, that's a beautiful card. All the stickers and stuff, all the peels I'll do before we showcase it to everyone, but for the time being, oh, that looks lovely. That looks good. All right, so let me get this cable out of the way first because I actually still need to use that one. As in, I still need to plug it in, so I'll just tuck it up there. All right, you know what? I'm not getting to the back of that GPU, am I? After it's in, so let's get this back peel off, hey? Ooh. Oh man, that doesn't peel as good as they used to. That didn't feel as satisfying. All right. Yeah, we'll pick up the cables out of the way that we don't need. And see how once that's plugged in, that's actually going to block out a lot of those unsavory cables. All right, line those pins up. Click it in. Yep. Do you know what? I actually really like that white GPU. It makes the red on the case and the black really stand out. All right, so let's get the second one in. These are just the screws to hold the GPU into the back. And they're in. Woohoo! That is a mounted GPU. All right, so as I said, that cable I'm going to have to tuck in the back because it is uggers. Well, that's a weird word to have used. It's not a savory cable to be looking at. In fact, I've just untucked it from the 2 that are there. I'm actually going to pull that back through there. Just get it nicely out of the way because it was already bugging me to look at. All right, now I've got to get my 600 watt power cable into the GPU. And again, that'll get shortened from the back once I've got it in. All right, so that goes in that way. But with these cables, you're not supposed to bend them too much. If you damage them, it messes with things. And so I'm gonna semi-leave it. I want that behind there. And how's that bend on it? Oh, that's actually pretty good. Awesome. All right, so now that that's in, I'm going to grab my power cable that I should have pre-plugged in. And I'll be able to make sure everything works. Now, if I bump the camera here at all, my apologies. It's just the cable's not as long as I would have hoped. So let's get this plugged in. Let's flip the switch, find the front button. Oh, there she goes. All right, we have one fan not spinning. So I'll flip this off. Oh man, that is so quiet. Holy dooly, is that quiet? I can't hear that on right next to it. Here, I'll bring the microphone really close. There's like no sound. That is awesome. I'm going to switch that off. And I'm going to figure out why that fan wasn't spinning. I'll unplug this quickly. All right, so it's this one up here. Looks like it's mounted correctly. It was definitely that fan. Yeah. All right, let me just double check. The manual, which of course the manual deleted its, like not deleted, but closed itself on me. So I'm just going to take a second to bring that back up, and I'll double check that that was exactly where it was supposed to be. All right, so I've just reseated that cable one last time. Let's turn her on and see if I fixed it or not. Hallelujah, I am a genius. Or I'm going to pretend I'm a genius. Really, I made a mistake and then I fixed my mistake. But that is, for all intents and purposes, minus the side panel. When that comes and everyone can see that in awe, that is the Crimson. I've got to clean up these, plug the AIOs in a little bit better. And look, I'm actually going to do this quickly. I'm actually going to, just for a second, I'll lay it back a little bit. Hope that that shows you it. So as I said, cable management needs to be done, which I did realize for a lot of these cabling, I will have to pull the GPU back out to plug them in behind there. Not an issue. And if any of you have noticed the difference, this actually came with 2 USB-C slots on the motherboard. So I've actually plugged it into the other one that's actually coming in this way rather than going in this way. That way I can shorten that cable and plug it in as neat as possible. All right, so I'm going to say thank you to everyone for watching, and can't wait to show you all the showcase. Please, and thank you for watching.